I'm Faith, and welcome to Faith's Take, where I talk about anything and everything that I find interesting. And welcome to my second ever official Q&A on this channel. I decided to do a Q&A. I was originally going to wait till I had a few more subscribers, but we have had such an amazing last month on this channel with season 11 coming out and getting 70 new subscribers. I just hit 350 today, which is just insane. I want to thank everyone, whether you've been subscribed for over a year or if you are one of the new ones that just subscribed today. Thank you so much. So I asked you guys for questions, as many as you like, that didn't have to be about Mystery Science Rift Treks, and boy did you guys deliver. I got probably 3 to 4 times what I thought I would, which is amazing. So this video, just gonna tell you now, is gonna be really long. Alright, so I asked for Twitter and YouTube comments, tweets and YouTube comments about all these questions. I have them open on the reason I'm looking over here, I have them on my computer. I'm gonna hit the non-Mystery Science Rift Treks ones first for the most part, and then we'll go into the Mystery Science Rift Treks one, especially because those are the ones that got asked multiple times in some cases. So let's dive right in. We'll start with Twitter questions. This first one is from Ross. He says, what is the worst movie you've ever seen? I'd be surprised if Mystery Science Rift Treks has done it yet. Okay, this movie, to me, it is the worst I've ever seen on a highly, highly, highly personal level. Percy Jackson, the Lightning Thief, was heartbreaking. Because when I saw the first trailer for it, it was on Harry Potter 6. I had literally finished that book 3 days before seeing that trailer, had no idea a movie was being made, so I got super excited. I was so pumped. I love Greek mythology, and I love modern day fiction books, even ones that are more intended for like teens and tweens and whatever. So I was super excited, and I cannot tell you how disappointing and crushed I was. So in that case, they haven't riffed it, they should. And the worst part, the movie's called The Lightning Thief, right? So it's a mystery about who stole Zeus's lightning bolt, right? Okay. The Lightning Thief in the movie is a different character than the Lightning Thief in the book. That should tell you all you need to know. So that, to me, is the worst, just on a personal level, is the worst movie I've ever seen. So that's that. Okay, then I got like 24 questions from Adrian on Twitter. So I'm gonna go through them all. First, though, Adrian, you asked me if, no, I'm sorry, you told me, play the ukulele. That is not a question, that is a request, but I shall acquiesce and be playing it in the background. Alright, so now we'll get to the questions. First of all, why are you so awesome? Natural born talent. Thank you. No, like I said in my video about the season 11 ending discussion, I am who I am, and that's it. Like, it's just how I behave. So if I come off as awesome, that's awesome, because this is just my natural state, so thank you. Very serious question. If you were going to die in 26 hours, what would you do today? If I knew I was gonna die, I would take my family, get us to Disney World or some kind of vacation. We would take a flight, we would go to Disney or some vacation and do something huge together if this was my last day and I knew in advance. What music do you like? Mostly soundtracks from movies and television. Or it's, I mean, I'm a Christian, so I do listen to some Christian music. I do like Taylor Swift. I know she gets a bad rap and some people don't like her. I like her stuff overall. Disney music is very big as well with me. Which are your favorite fans to interact with? Nice try there, Adrian. You are all my favorite fans to interact with. I know that sounds cliche and like, oh, she doesn't mean that, but I do, because, like I said, 350 people actually give a crap about what I have to say about things and find me interesting enough and likable enough to want to keep watching, to click that subscribe button and want to watch more than one video, which is just amazing. And I love interacting with every single one of you. I mean, the discussions and conversations we had, even if we didn't agree, through all this season 11 stuff has been fantastic and so fun, and really, I think, enriched the experience, at least for me. And I'm very proud of just like this little community, this little group of friends that we just have, the 350 of us. I think that's just amazing. The questions are here, 3 of the same type of questions, so I'm gonna group them together. You could get $1 million, but at one random time each day, you burst into a Shakespearean monologue about whatever is on your mind at the moment. Would I do that for $1 million? I'm gonna say yes, just because it's like, you know, no one's gonna understand what's up here anyway, so if it's in Shakespearean dialogue, maybe it'll sound at least fancier, and I get $1 million. You could have $1 million, but for 1 year, you can only face north. I'm gonna say no, because that is way too inconvenient. Who knows what I need to do that faces the other 3 directions, or, you know, full 360 degrees of directions. You can get $1 million, but once a month, in a random place at a random time, a pie fight will start around you. Heck yes, that would be hilarious. And I know it's like, would that get annoying eventually? Probably, but I still get $1 million and a good laugh. This next one, both Adrian asked, but also E. Bernard asked as well, which is, what other fandom are you a part of? Other fandoms are you a part of? Or other geeky things are you interested in besides MST3K? I'm into several other things. The Muppets and Fraggle Rock, as I've already established. I also love Star Wars, Lego Star Wars, and Disney and Pixar. And I, of course, also love the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Can you guess who my favorite character is? Next, Adrian asks, do you like anime? I do not. I just don't watch it. It's, it's not like I have watched it and dislike it. I just don't watch it. Do you like Doctor Who? No, I have tried, guys. I have tried. I think I mentioned it briefly when I talked about the Rift Tracks mystery title that they're doing, when I did that little vlog or whatever. And I really tried. I watched all of Eccleston and the first, like, half dozen or so, maybe even more, of David Tennant's. And I like the character of the Doctor, but there's something about the show that I just can't grasp. I'm not a huge sci-fi person. I know I just said I love Star Wars, but in general, I'm not a big sci-fi person. So I think some of the plots, for me, got a little overly complicated, and the characters other than the Doctor sometimes were a little either too simple or at least pushed too far kind of to the background, you know? I don't know, there's just something about it that I just didn't connect to. Do you like the Nostalgia Critic? Yes, I do. I actually really love the Nostalgia Critic, and he was actually one of the influences on me when it came to starting my channel and, and being a hard critic and being honest about things. One thing I love about him, about Doug Walker is his real name, one thing I love about Doug so much is that he's really funny when it comes to his reviews, but he's also really smart about it. He knows how to break a movie down and analyze it and give you a reason of why something is good or bad or whatever, and I really like that and appreciate that, and that kind of helped me, when he was one of the YouTubers, internet personalities that kind of also inspired me when I started my channel for like a good type of format to use, and I think he's funny and enjoyable, and he's also been an inspiration to me, so I definitely like the Nostalgia Critic. How are you so adorable? Same thing as the Awesome One. Thank you. If I come off as adorable, that's great because that's just how I am, so thank you. I don't know how though. It just happened somehow. I don't know. What movies, one Rift and one not Rift, do you like to see on a rainy day? Like I said, I'm a big fan of Marvel, and I could watch Ant-Man or Guardians of the Galaxy anytime. It's Guardians and Ant-Man are just two super lighthearted, fun romps, so those are probably the unrift ones I would go for most of the time, just off the top of my head at least. And for Rift movies, a lot of the episodes I like are non-sci-fi episodes. I don't mean sci-fi the station, I mean like sci-fi type movies. Or like the monster movies and stuff. I like those episodes, but some of my favorites, are like the ones like Kitten with a Whip and things like that, where it's like a much more character-based movie, or like a much more plot, but there's not a lot of like effects or craziness happening. So that's always a good one. Kitten with a Whip is always a safe bet for me that I could watch anytime. I've seen that one countless times, so that's probably my answer right now. Do you like to dance, go to clubs or something, and who are your party friends? No, and I don't have friends, so there you go. That sounds terrible. No, I don't dance, I don't go to clubs or anything, I'm not really a drinker or anything. I mean, I've had alcohol once or twice, but it's not like, I'm just not into that as much. And I don't party, I mean, at most what I'll do is I'll go over to like my cousin's house and we'll watch movies and stuff, and that's it. Like, we'll watch Mystery Science and Rift Tracks, but I don't have any like partying friends. I don't do clubs or dancing or anything. That's just, that's just me. I'm an introvert, and I like to stay home and make YouTube videos. I like, keeping to myself or being with my family. Not really. I honestly don't have many, friends outside of my family sphere, but that's just how it is, and I'm okay with that, for the most part. So, what is a movie you love that other people hate? Okay, I want to do an unpopular opinions about this one day. I just haven't gotten to it. I don't know when I would get to it. Movie that I love that everybody else seems to hate is the Adam Sandler movie Pixels, okay? Pixels, it's like people were just destroying it as if it was like the worst thing, and out of all of Adam Sandler's movies that I've seen, I think that's probably my favorite, and I'm just like, this is by no means his worst work. What are you guys talking about? And if you don't like it, it's like, I mean, I get it if you don't care for it, but the people that outright hated it, like vitriolic rage and hate, I was just like, whoa, like, did it kill your dog? People didn't seem, I'm not saying any of you guys did this, but a lot of people at the time didn't seem to understand what were jokes and what were supposed to be taken seriously, which isn't much. Because a lot of people were like, Kevin James would never be the president. Yeah. That's the joke. It's Kevin James and every president. That's why he's the president in the movie. Because it's stupid. Just, I don't understand. Why is Josh Gad so weird in that movie? Because it's a joke. It's a joke. It's supposed to be funny. It's like, even if you don't find it funny, that's fine. But some people just seemed confused. That confused me because I'm just like, it's a comedy. If something doesn't make sense, it's probably a joke. So there's a lot less crude humor in it than any of Sandler's other films that I've seen. So, I mean, that to me is actually like a plus. The animation, guys. I love animation, just like how it's done and how it can look and how cool it is. Often when it doesn't work, pay attention to this. If you're ever watching a movie with animated characters or lots of special effects, and something doesn't seem to be working quite right, it's probably the lighting. I know that sounds weird, but for instance, it's like I've never fully seen the movie. I saw the nostalgia critic of this movie, of the Smurfs, right? The live action one from like 5 years ago, and they look terrible. The animation does not ever look like it's really there, and the problem you can tell is the lighting. And with pixels, they did the genius thing of, because it's supposed to be arcade games, the pixels light themselves. They create a light source. So then it doesn't have to be that the lighting affects them, they affect the lighting, and I was like, that's brilliant, and that's why a lot of the animation looks so good in that movie. So it's like from animation to, I actually think it's funny. I liked that. I thought it was fun. The animation was fun. I thought it was funny. I thought it was goofy, but enjoyably so. It's like, I don't know. I really liked it, and I'm sorry that a lot of people didn't. The next question, though, comes into this. What is your limit for comedy? When is it just bad taste or rude? I personally don't like any crude humor, not just like inappropriate adult humor, even like the really kiddie stuff where it's like a lot of bathroom stuff. I'm just like, okay, can we like get to real jokes? That's one of the things I like about Mystery Science and Riff Tracks is, for the most part, it's visual gags, it's wordplay, it's stuff based on what you're seeing. It's not just stuff like, they don't bring bathroom or sex stuff out of nowhere most of the time. When it's bad taste or rude, if there are innuendos or even outright sexual jokes every once in a great while, I'm okay with that. Like Nostalgia Critic does that sometimes, and and in bad words and stuff, and it's like that, the way he does it, it's like I can take that because that's not too much, that's not the crux of everything or that he does or anything. But then you have people like Amy Schumer, where it's literally nothing but sexual humor, and I'm just like, get out of here with that. That's just because that, to me, it's like that is just a cheap thing to try to get a laugh. It's just cheap shock humor. That, to me, is the worst of taste. Isn't even just, oh, it was an inappropriate joke. It's an inappropriate joke just to get attention. It wasn't funny, and it had no good setup, or sometimes just out of nowhere, and there's not even any finesse to the joke. You just said it. I hate that. So that to me is when it's kind of bad taste and rude. When you're not respecting your audience, really, I guess is what it boils down to. What is your favorite video so far? I'm assuming you mean that I've made. I still love that top 10 Riff Track Shorts video. I had a great time making it, and that's why I was so excited when it did so well. And I love the way it turned out. I think it was fun, and that is what inspired me to do every Riff Track Short reviewed, because I just enjoyed talking about and editing the shorts so much. I was like, I want to do this over and over again, and I found a way to do it. If you could travel to one country on each continent, which one would you pick? There's really only 2 international countries that I would want to go and visit, that being Italy. I am half Italian, Sicilian to be more precise, and I think that would be fun. That's in Europe, obviously. And then for Asia, I would love to go to Japan. My dad and I have always wanted to go to Osaka and just like eat our way across the city and like try all the different little sushi stands and stuff like that. I think that would be super fun, and it's also one of the safest places in the world, which is like, that's comforting to know. But those are really the only 2 that I'm super interested in. There haven't been many others where I'm just thinking like, that would be cool to see or whatever, enough to actually want to do it. I actually prefer vacationing in America and seeing all our different, just different cities and different fun things we can do here, because there's such a wealth of things to do. What would you like to work as? I would love to be a content creator like this. If this could be my job, that would be awesome. Something in film would be awesome. I found out through this channel that I love editing. Editing would be awesome. Editing trailers would be awesome, because I need to stop using that word. A thing that fascinates me outside of film is psychology. The psychology of things fascinates me. My favorite example of this is when the Suicide Squad trailers came out last year. The first one came out, no one really liked it. Most people didn't like the first one. They took the same trailer basically as before, put in a few more action shots, and Bohemian Rhapsody. Everybody loved it. Everyone that disliked the first trailer was like, this looks so good. I'm like, it looks like the same movie. All they did was edit the trailer better and add Bohemian Rhapsody. It's like that. It's just people, like, trailers are fascinating because of what you can do like that, you know, and that to me would be super interesting to do. But yeah, doing this would be just awesome. I mean, hey, Mystery Science is back. It's like, if you ever need another writer or an editor, I can edit the sound. I can, you know, make sure the riffs are on time and not too early, you know, just saying, you know. so that would be really cool since that show is back, but it'd be something in that vein. And finally, from Adrian, before we get to the Mystery Science specific questions, how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Probably about 100 pounds or so a day. Those things could chuck wood like nobody's business. Alright, so that was so dumb. Anyway, so let's see. Next on Twitter is Joe. Are you a night owl? Giant smiley face emoji. Yes, it is 2:30 in the morning right now as I'm recording this, but I stay up super late. I'm taking online classes and I work part-time, and I have not been working much lately, to be honest, so my whole sleep schedule's out of whack. I'm going to bed super late and then getting up late, but it's just like, you know, I like staying up until 4 in the morning. What didn't help was season 6, or not season 6, what is wrong with me? Season 11, because I stayed up until 6. The night season 11 premiered, because it premiered 2 a.m. my time, so I watched it and recorded the video, edited it, and then had tech problems, so by the time I finally had it ready to upload, it was like 6 in the morning, and that just kind of like, since then, I've been completely off. Alright, now let's go to the YouTube non-mystery science questions. This is from, it's either Spaced Man or Spaced Man, I'm not sure how you want me to say that, and I'm sorry. As for personal what personal hobbies do you have outside of making videos? I love to paint, smiley face. I also enjoy painting. I have a couple things right next to me here that I pulled. As I said, big fan of Marvel, and so I have 2 Marvel-related paintings. I have the Scarlet Witch symbol. Yes, it isn't from the movies, it's from the comics. She doesn't really have a movie symbol right now. And then the Winter Soldier / Bucky Barnes symbol of his star. And I need to do the rest of them. I'm doing all of Team Cap, by the way. Team Cap and Black Panther. Black Panther's basically Team Bucky anyway, so, those, I'm working on those. Outside of painting, I like reading. I haven't done much of it lately because it's like, once you're done reading for school, you're like, my eyes, you know, I don't want to look at words. But I do like reading. I like doing crafts. This is a Snow White cross-stitch that I did a while back. I'm working on a huge Disney one. I have a Beauty and the Beast one in my office, actually, at work. And I have a Disney one that I'm working on that's basically a giant stained glass looking one, and that's gonna be super cool when it's done in like 7 years. What else? As you saw, I build Lego sets, I do puzzles sometimes. I mean, a lot of my hobby right now is video making. I knit. I'm gonna answer a second question at the same time as this one. Let's see, who was it that asked? It was Daniel. Daniel asked, he asked another thing that I'll get to in a little bit, but he said, do you like driving us nuts by only showing part of your t-shirt without the rest? I.e., in your, let's talk about the season 11 ending, Born to What? LOL. I wore the same shirt on purpose. This is a Gravity Falls based shirt, which was a cartoon on Disney Channel. It says, Born to Knit. It says, Mabel from Gravity Falls would knit all her sweaters, and I also knit, so I thought that would be a fun shirt to get. Yeah, I mean, just off the top of my head, that's what I can think of. Oh, play the ukulele, as I was, so there you go. Ryan L, because there's 2 Ryans, asks, what do you think of the new Muppet stuff? 2009 film and Most Wanted, and 2015 show. I think the newest of the Muppet movies, or I'm sorry, not the newest, the first of the new Muppet movies was 2011, I think. 2011 movie, I enjoyed. I was like 16-ish when it came out, and I mean, to me, that was a huge deal. Huge deal, because the Muppets since 1999, basically, until 2011, were awful. They didn't get it anymore. All the people that did get it, most of them had either left or had passed away, and, you know, from Muppets from Space to whatever that terrible 2008 Christmas special was with, like, Letters to Santa or whatever it was, awful. They did not know what they were doing. They had no clue what to do with these characters. The 2011 movie finally had people behind it who cared. That's why the whole plot of that movie is them getting the band back together, basically, because they're like, we're gonna revamp this franchise, not reboot entirely, but we're gonna bring them all back and revamp it. And I really enjoyed it a lot. I accepted the fact that a lot of the characters weren't in it that much because we were getting the gang back together. That was the point. So I accepted the fact that it was a cliche plot, which the Muppets did a lot anyway. That was part of the joke. And that a lot of them didn't get featured as much because I was like, you're bringing it together to be better in the next one. The next one was not better. Muppets Most Wanted I have a lot of problems with because you took the character Walter, who was new for the other movie, and who made sense in the other movie, being the catalyst, and you still made him a main character when he didn't need to be. You gave him a role that should have been Gonzo's, because Gonzo still has nothing to do. You still focus on the Kermit and Miss Piggy relationship thing. Like, I know all the old movies did that, but holy cow, it gets annoying. Even in the good ones, sometimes I'm like, speed it up. At least in Great Muppet Caper, it was a plot point. In Constantine, while yes, a good and well-performed villain, too much. You had way more of Constantine than anybody else. I think even more of him than Kermit, right? I was so excited, and I was disappointed. Rizzo is another one of the best characters you have. He was not in the 2011 movie at all, which makes no sense. It was about bringing all of them together, and then you cut out one of the most important characters from the 80s onward. That's just stupid. And then in this one, you just made a joke about it, and then he is gone for the rest of the movie. It's like, why would you do that? Why would you break my heart in such a way, Muppets? So that and the lack of Gonzo, and Fozzie is such an idiot now, which I hate. It's like he was always naive and innocent. He wasn't just stupid most of the time. No more stupid than most of the Muppets were, so that irritated me. The 2015 show, I should do a video about this. Maybe I will. The first part of the run, I wanted to kill myself. Like, it was, like, why? I could not watch a whole episode for those first, I think it was 10, before it went on hiatus. They had such blatant disregard for these characters, what they are, what they stand for, what they've done for so many people, myself included, that it was appalling. Those first 10 episodes were the worst. Like, Miss Piggy, people get her wrong all the time, so I was just like, I could even look past what a terrible person she was. But all the characters, like Kermit was on the verge of being like suicidally depressed. He was just depressing and irritating. I hated that. So unlikable. Gonzo, again, not much to do. He was one of the best parts that was there. And I think the reason it hit so dang hard, I was expecting it to suck at first. I was like, expect it to suck, don't get your hopes up. And then the pilot was released. The ABC pilot that was like 10 minutes long, and it was perfect in tone, in character. It looked like they had it. It looked like they wanted the classic characters to come back and do it, and that looked perfect. I don't know what in the world happened between the pilot and the actual shooting and writing of the show, because then it sucked, and it was so inappropriate, and I hated that. Like, it's the Muppets. One of the best things about the Muppets is that for the most part they're just so pure, you know? They don't usually do inappropriate, gross, bad taste humor at all, and that's what the majority of the show was for those first 10 episodes. And it just like boggled my mind that this got passed and that they said, yes, we're gonna do this. They completely shot themselves in the foot, because I know for the first episode, a ton of people watched it. Like, the ratings on the first episode were ridiculous, but they dropped like a hot rock over the next like 3 episodes to nothing compared to the first one. And I was like, if you guys had done it right, you could have had something, and you didn't. And then they went on that hiatus, came back a few months later, and then it was good. I watched it because I was like, I'm gonna give it the second chance that it wants, and I think it worked. They had Miss Piggy actually grow as a character for the first time, probably since Frank Oz performed her last, if not even slightly earlier. Kermit was still annoying, like, I forgot Kermit's girlfriend. They got rid of her, though. Kermit still wasn't that enjoyable, but Gonzo had a little bit more to do, and Piggy actually had development. I was shocked. I was pleasantly surprised by that, because I actually, if there is a character who I'm like, in the original, even in like the original run of the Muppet Show, it was usually Miss Piggy. I was like, I want the other, give me Rolf and Scooter and stuff instead. So that was amazing and mind-boggling, and I'm like, you have something now, but the ratings had plummeted too far, and not enough people went back to check it out, and it got canceled, and that broke my heart now, because I was like, you break my heart one time by sucking and not getting what these characters are about at all, and then you break my heart by starting to get it right, and then not enough people came back to watch it, because you messed it up the first time. Crystal, I'm sorry. I missed earlier when I was doing the what are you into other than Mystery Science. I missed that you also asked that. So Crystal asked that too. But she had another non-Mystery Science question. What made you decide to start this awesome channel of yours? First of all, thank you. Very nice. I've discussed this a little bit on my RiffTrax Live Mystery Science reunion show video, I believe. It was that reunion show because I had wanted to start a YouTube channel for probably 3 years, 2 or 3 years at the time that I finally did it last year. I had wanted to for so long, but I was so scared that nobody would watch me. I was like, no one's gonna care about what I have to say. Who would give a darn about me and blah 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 blah, because I'm very down on myself in that way. And I didn't want to take that leap because I was just like, what if it sucks, or what if I don't like doing the videos or whatever. But finally, when they announced that Mystery Science reunion show, I was like flipping out. I'm like, that's amazing. You even have one of the new guys come in, and Joel's like, you got Joel to come back and everything, even with all this weird season 11 stuff happening. What is going on? That's amazing. And no one was talking about it. There were some tweets, some social media stuff, but no one was really doing much of anything except them, like, promoting it, and that was it. And there wasn't enough buzz in the fandom itself. Like, they were getting the word out themselves, but it's like, the fans weren't, like, hyped enough, I felt. And I was like, doggone it, this is something that needs to be celebrated. So I decided, only 12 weeks before the reunion show, I'm gonna do 10 weeks of top 10s, because, it was both the reunion show and RiffTrax's 10th anniversary. So I decided to do 10 weeks of top 10s for both the leading up to the reunion show in honor of both that and RiffTrax's 10th. And like I said, I was only 2 weeks out from needing the first video to be ready. I found that I loved making these videos. I fell in love with editing through them, and you know, that's pretty much all it was I wanted to celebrate my favorite show, like the people coming back together, and the people that had been doing this for another 10 years, like them all just joining up and doing something huge in honor of all of it. And it was kind of an honor of season 11 because that had just gotten the green light a few months before, and it was crazy. I was like, this needs to be talked about, and because of that, that just sparked everything, and it's just been uphill ever since, like, in a good way. So yeah, that's pretty much it on that one. Next, from someone I'm gonna call FC, because I'm sorry, you have an inappropriate name that I will not say aloud. You guys can go check out the comments if you want to see what it was. But he says, because you mentioned liking Steven Crowder, are you a right-winger? Yes. I purposefully don't bring up politics in, like, my main videos or anything, because I want this to be a channel that everyone feels is fun and is safe, and we're not gonna, like, no one fight with each other, no one feel excluded or anything. That's why I don't mention it. But the reason I mentioned Steven Crowder in the video that I'm sure you're talking about, I think, was I'm assuming it was the Please Support Your Favorite Creators video. And I mentioned it there because those are a lot of the people, he's one of the people getting really affected by the YouTube monetization trouble that's been going on, and I thought, you know, I like him, I want to mention that, but also he had a good video describing it, so I wanted to be sure that I sent people there to watch it, because he went into even more detail than I did. Also, you said not insulting you. I personally am too. I'm just curious. Don't worry about, if you guys want to ask me a question, just do it. I'm not going to be insulted. Yeah, so don't worry. You could have asked if I was a left-winger, wouldn't be insulted. No, it doesn't matter. But I am a right-winger. The reason I don't just label myself a conservative is because last year, politics imploded in every direction, including the right. Just everyone imploded. And one of the things I love about Steven Crowder is one of the things that I do too. If you join a side and you're just like, I'm a part of this side no matter what, well, then it's like you join the Borg and they're just like, well, now this is truth. Well, no, it's not. You know, you might disagree with things. So when if I said I'm a conservative, that lumps me in a group who sometimes do and say things that I don't agree with, but you get lumped in with that. So I would say right-winger is probably the best way to put it for me. But yeah, so, and that's why I like Steven Crowder. He doesn't just blindly take what, you know, the right or the conservatives say and establish that to himself. He thinks critically, and he's like, no, that's stupid, or no, that doesn't make sense because X, Y, and Z. So yeah, I'm on the right. If you guys ever have questions like that, I'll totally answer them, whether they're in the comments, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's a Q&A. I just won't mention it in, like, a main video, like a non-Q&A video, but other than that, like, you can ask me that and I will totally answer. Don't worry about that kind of stuff, guys. I'm not easily offended in that way. Next is from Vixie Lou. Just curious, are there any other shows you'll be reviewing in the pipeline? Okay, there's been a... Oh, and let me see. Someone else asked the same thing. Want to make sure I'm giving the credit. This is from Daniel. Are there any other movies, shows, or genres that you'd want to do videos on? If I was going to review another show, I've been thinking about doing Gravity Falls, like the shirt I'm wearing, like I mentioned. Would it be a full every episode series? I don't know. But I want to talk about it because it's one of those shows where, for the most part, it is brilliant. It is funny. It is smart. It is wonderful. And then the ending happens. And I personally, I don't know if any of you have watched it, but I personally was very disappointed, especially because one of the characters learned literally nothing. This was a cartoon. It wasn't just a goofy cartoon like SpongeBob or something where like no one learns anything. This is a cartoon where characters did grow and develop. So for this character to not learn anything, I was so mad. So it just, you know, so it affected the story. That was another problem. It affected the story that they didn't learn anything. So one day I might talk about that. Someone asked if I would ever talk about The Muppet Show. I might do that at one point because I love it so much, or Fraggle Rock. Those are just two of the other best shows out there. Next one is from Natalie. Where in the Casey area are you located? I was and my parents are still around the Claycomo area. Natalie, I'm really sorry. I don't want to disclose that. Not that I think any of you guys will do anything. But I do live with my family, and I feel like if I went any more specific, that would be kind of irresponsible. Next one is from Doug. There's so much activity right now between Rift Treks and Mystery Science Revival, it must be hard to keep up with your studies. They're online classes, it's not too difficult. So my question is, what is a major distinction between temporary and permanent differences when accounting for income taxes? Doug, 2 disappointing answers in a row here, because, Doug, it's like I took a tax class at my community college almost, well, it would have been like 2.5 years ago, I think. It feels much longer, 2.5 years ago. And I found out that day, the time I was taking those, I hate taxes. I hate them. So I decided I would never be a tax accountant because I hated it so much. And I honestly, like everybody else, need to look that stuff up when I'm doing taxes. So I'm sorry, I don't have an answer. I would need to go find my old books. I don't even know where they are. They're either on one of those crazy shelves or in the basement, and find it and then look that up. Sorry about that, man. Here's the 3rd disappointing answer in a row. Martin asks, hey Faith, what about Wolf Cop? I have no clue what that is, so I'm sorry. There's another disappointing answer. This could have been, who knows, this whole video could be nothing but disappointing answers, I don't know. And we have our last non-mystery science question, but this was from Not Sloth, from only like an hour or 2 ago. Probably too late, you were not, but I'll ask anyway. Favorite breakfast cereal and why? I don't eat a lot of cereal, really, but if I had to eat cereal right now, it would be Cocoa Puffs, because chocolate is the best. So let's go all the way back to Twitter and get those couple of mystery science questions we had hanging out here. Let me see, from Adrian again. If you could do a riff with someone, who would it be? That is a fantastic question. I mean, you said someone, so I'm assuming you mean one person. That's so hard. Oh man, if I had to pick one of the original cast of the show, because it would have to be someone from the show. I'm sorry, guys. It would have to be. It would have to be. Oh man, Bill would be really fun. Bill's delivery, guys. It's like perfect, like all the time. Like Bill's delivery is so good. They all deliver well, like you know what I mean though. Bill's is just like, there have been so many times where he'll tell a joke and it's usually like a reference that I don't even get or maybe wouldn't find funny, but the way he said it just makes me laugh. Like there's something about that. Bill would be fun. I think Trace would also be really fun. I can't just pick one, man. I love them all too much. I'm just like, but then there's Mike, and then there's Jonah, like even the new guys. I'm like, that would be so fun. Just I don't know. I mean, my first instinct was to say Bill if I had to pick one of them, so that's who I'll go with for now. So that could change in like 10 minutes though. Okay, Adrian also asks, what is the main attraction to MST and Rift Treks that no other show can replicate? I think its unique style and sense of humor goes a long way. Like I said, they don't usually delve into crude stuff. The show is so quick-witted, and a lot of it is verbal humor. It's almost entirely verbal humor, and a lot of it is like, you gotta catch that thing on the screen to get their line, or you gotta catch that line of dialogue to understand what they meant, and I there's something about that I like. But overall, it's I think the timing is so good, the unique, or at the time especially, unique concept is so good. They almost always have such a good group of writers and performers that there is just this essence that comes with it. especially during the original run, and it's just so unique. I think that's part of just what it uses puppets like as the robot characters, which I think is great. I think that adds that layer as well of complications to it that I think is fun. And I think it just has such a tone and such a feel that is so its own tone and feel. Same thing with RiffTrax though, like even when you take out the puppets and stuff, they're just three funny guys who just have this quick-witted sense of humor and know what they're doing and find the stupidest things you've ever seen and make fun of them, and it's just great. There's just this je ne sais quoi about it. There's one Twitter question left from Krogan's Island that actually hooks into another question that I know I have on the YouTube side, so I will get to that in a minute. So I'm gonna head back to the YouTube side and I will get back to that question. Okay, now these are the questions that a lot of people asked some of the same ones, so if I'm gonna try to give credit to everybody. From Spaced Man, let me see, MST3K related, what was the absolute worst episode you've ever seen, one that you couldn't sit through or finish? And he also went on to say, I can't get through KTMA or Season 1, I don't feel like a true fan, but I love Season 2 to the present. Don't ever not feel like a true fan just because you don't like weaker episodes. That's not, don't do that. Like, I hate when people do that. They're like, you know, or when people say, oh, well, if you don't, suffer through all this, you're not a true fan. Those people are dumb. Like, I don't like the KTMA and most Season 1 episodes. I've yet to find a Season 1 episode I like. I'm watching them all right now, as you guys know, for the Every Mystery Science Reviewed, but I didn't, that's one of the whole reasons I did the KTMA thing as one video, was I don't want to sit through all those. I don't want to make you guys sit through all those. If anyone ever tells you you're not a true fan because you don't like X, it's like, screw them. Like, what, just whatever, who cares? It's like, you can still be a true fan. Like, I don't like KTMA or Season 1, but I have a whole YouTube channel where the majority of what I make is based off of that show. I would like to think I'm a true fan, so don't let that, just because they had a weaker product, like, I didn't like, Reptilicus, but I still overall like Season 11 and find myself to be a true fan of the show, including this season, so don't worry about that. That upset me, because I don't want people to think that, like I said, I love the Muppets. There were things in the recent years I didn't like, but I still consider myself a true fan, so don't feel bad because you don't love every single thing a person or a show that you like puts out. That's not true. Don't blindly love something. It's like, I think that's actually worse. I would rather meet someone who says, I love this show except X, Y, and Z about it, then someone's like, I just love it and it's so perfect. Don't feel bad. None of you out there, none of you feel bad about that. But for me, what's the worst episode I haven't seen? One I couldn't sit through or finish. I have yet to see one I couldn't sit through all the way. I've never tried to sit through a KTMA one, so I don't know. But I've been able to sit through all the ones I've tried so far. I just watched Mad Monster, as you guys saw. So far of Season 1, of the ones that I have seen and remember seeing, Robot vs. the Aztec Mummy has got to be the worst, because it's like, with this host segments that meant nothing, made no sense. Only good thing about those segments was Crow sometimes, and the movie was so boring and had such a non-story and just talking in circles with exposition over and over. That was terrible. The only other one off the top of my head is Manos. I am one of them in the camp that doesn't like Manos. The movie's so unpleasant, it makes you feel icky. It just isn't good at all. Like that, the short on that episode is great. I think it's the second half of Hired. That's great, and the host segments overall were really good. It's just the movie part itself, man. And again, I did stick with it, especially because it was so famous. But geez, I'm not looking forward to watching that again. I already had to watch through it another time when I did the Versus episode. I have yet to find one I couldn't sit through, but at this point, yeah, it would be between Robot vs. the Aztec Mummy, and then Manos is just so unpleasant. But if you're talking full episode was terrible, it would be Robot vs. Aztec Mummy. Those demon dogs made no sense. Crystal asks, how'd you first start watching MST3K? Well, I grew up in a house where my parents watched it, but when it really hit me was when I was 15. This actually goes with Crystal's second question. What was your first impression of RiffTrax? Because what happened was like my little mystery science backstory. When I was 15, I still remember February of whatever year that would have been 7 years ago. Do the math. 2010? Yes, 2010. And we had Netflix. We still have Netflix. We had the digital, but we had the discs back then. And my parents, one night, it was like midnight. This is back when I went to sleep at a decent hour. And they were cracking up downstairs, like, could not stop laughing. My sister Maddie and I were in a room and we were just like, what is going on? Like, our lights were out and everything. We're just like, what are they laughing at? So the next day I asked my dad, I'm like, what were you guys watching? And he was like, oh my gosh, it was the Riff Tracks Volume 1 Shorts disc. He's like, we've gotta watch it. So that Saturday, we basically had a little party. It was just me, my parents, and my sisters, just the 6 of us. And it's like my family, we're, like I've said, I'm half Mexican, half Sicilian. We celebrate literally anything with food, as you could probably tell already. So we had like pizza and chips. I think my mom made a dessert. Like, we made a party out of it and just had a blast. We watched the whole disc of Volume 1 Shorts. And it's like, I fell in love. It was amazing. It was so funny. We all loved him. We were all cracking up, had such a great time. And that was it. Like, I was hooked forever. So the next day, my dad's like, let's watch an episode of the show. And so this ties back in, I just remembered, to Krogan's Island's question, what was your first MST3K episode? So started with Riff Tracks, absolutely loved it. Started watching Mystery Science fully, and the first one we watched was Girl in Lover's Lane. And man, it was crazy. It was so good. It was just, that's still one of my favorites to this day. But next I'll finish Krogan's Island's question. Out of the 10 original seasons, what was the last episode you got to see and your impressions? Well, the last one I watched all the way was Mad Monster. The impressions of that episode, if you guys haven't watched the review yet, were just, better than Aztec Mummy. Just better than that. It's not that high of a bar, but, it was something. Crystal, though, asks, what's your favorite episode of MST3K out of all the seasons and why? My favorite episode of all time, I'll give you 2. I'll give you my favorite Joel episode and my favorite Mike, which is my absolute one. Favorite Joel episode, second favorite episode of the whole series is I Accuse My Parents. That episode is like perfection. That episode is basically perfect. It has a great hilarious movie again, a more character-based, not sci-fi-based one. Has a fun short with the truck farmer, fun host segments when they're like delving into idiot Jimmy's psychosis, and that one's just a really fun episode. And then on the flip side of that, you have my favorite Mike episode, which is my favorite episode of all time, Teenage Strangler. That is an episode that it has to be the one I've watched the most, though I've watched both of those dozens upon dozens of times. It has to be by now. And Teenage Strangler, it's early Mike, but that was his second episode. He had it down pat already. But just like that, we have one of my favorite shorts of all time with the movie. Again, not sci-fi based. Hilarious, just a goofy teenager kind of mystery, but not really movie. And then you had great host segments, and it ends on a song. It's like it end on a high note, and it's so fun. It's so ridiculous. I think that one's slightly underrated. I don't think it's complete. Like, I know more people have seen it than some other ones, but if you haven't, or if you haven't seen it in a while, go watch Teenage Strangler again. I'm sure it's on the internet if you don't have it. I'm sure it's on YouTube here, but just go watch it. Do yourself a favor. But then Crystal will be going to ask, what's the worst and why? So far of the ones I've seen, it's Aztec Mummy. It's Robot vs. the Aztec Mummy. I forgot that you also asked that, so I'm sorry. Okay. Who's your favorite host? Joel, Mike, or Jonah? For me, it's Mike. We'll get to that. How do you think Season 12 could be better? There's 2 things I want from Season 12, and I know they probably won't do it, but this is what I want. Edit the sound better. Just please. For those that you don't know, it's like with the riffs in this recent season, 11, they record them in a booth, kind of like what Riff Tracks would do, because they don't have visuals. Like, they don't have puppets and stuff. They record the riffs in a booth, and then they shoot them sitting in the chairs later. So that means a sound editor has to come in and sync it together. Like, oh, this shot changed in the movie, and this bot is moving like this, we gotta put the line in here. So every single time that those lines have been early, that's a sound editor's fault. That's not Hampton, Barrett, or Jonah's fault. It's the fault of the editor, and it makes them look worse, because if you watch any of the original show, they recorded everything at the same time. So if a riff was early, that was their fault. If Tom said something early, that was, Kevin made a mistake and said it early. But with this, it's the sound editing fault, and that just is mind-boggling. Like I said, I love editing. Am I the best editor? No. Could I do a better job? Probably not, but it's like, come on, guys. And the other thing that just gets under my skin so much is the puppets. For goodness gosh sake, the puppets. Fix it. It's like, you don't need 3 people to work a Tom Servo puppet. For gosh sakes, like... If you hire the guys to do the voice, it's like, just let them do the puppetry. I know they do the mitts, I know they do the mouths, but they don't do anything else. And I understand these puppets are more complex. They have the arms, though Trace did work with Crow with arms through season 2. I'm just pointing that out. Crow's arms moved in season 2. But it when you compare, it's like, I get that they're amateurs and don't know what they're doing. I get it. It's like, and if they wanted the help, fine. But 3, that's too much. It's like, what they should do, have one puppeteer to do the arms, and then have Baron and Hampton do the actual body movements and the mouths, and that would put a lot more in sync. Okay? It's hard for professional puppeteers to be in sync with 2 people on the same puppet. 2 people on the same puppet. Those are the things I think they could do to make 12 better. And lastly, Crystal says, how are you? I'm good, Crystal. I hope you're good too. Hope you're all good. Thank you. Okay. Not Sloth asked a lot of the same questions. I'm sorry. Not Sloth, you asked a lot of the same questions as Crystal, and I forgot to look back and make sure. Like I said, if I'm not giving people the right shoutouts, I'm sorry. Some of my questions seem to have already been asked. Yes, I'm sorry that I didn't credit you. But let me see. 1, favorite host. We'll get to that. Favorite episodes. Did that. Like I said, I Accuse My Parents and Teenage Strangler. Definitely go check those out if you haven't recently. Also, if you're interested, if any of you guys are interested in it, I can link to it up here, I think it would be. And I have my top 10 Mystery Science episodes. I have a whole video about that if you're interested in seeing a lot of my favorite riffs from them and seeing what my full top 10 plus, I think, 5 honorable mentions are. Least favorite episodes, like I said, it's just Robot versus the Aztec Mummy and Manos probably top of that list right now. I just can't do it. Movies, here's one of the new ones from Not Sloth though. Movies you would like to see redone on the new version of the show. I mean, I feel like really most of season 1 and the KTMA ones that they haven't redone, I think most of them would do really well just redoing them. One actually though, that least favorite episodes. I'm sorry that I'm all over the place with this, guys. I really am. For the least favorite episodes and movies that they should redo, First Spaceship on Venus. I don't know why. I have never connected to that episode. I don't know what it is. I'm not a fan. Just something about it never clicks. Season 2, and I enjoyed season 2 as a whole. There's just something about that episode and I'm always like, don't really care. So that would probably be in my least favorite. If I had a least favorite 3, that would round it out with Aztec Mummy and Manos at this point. But I would love to see them redo that one and see what now Jonah, Hampton, and Baron could bring to that. I think that could be really cool. And bad movies you would like to see included in future seasons. More TV shows stuck together would be awesome, because they did Master Ninja and they did Riding with Death is another one. I loved those, where they took the TV show or TV show pilots like a Codename Diamond Head and did that. Those would be great. Those would be fun. I hope they do those. That's what I want. Any of them. Jackie Ball asks, what, in your opinion, is the strangest host segment you've ever seen? Strangest host segment is so hard. One of my favorite host segments, which is pretty strange, is previously on the Satellite of Love from season 9. I think it's on the Deadly Bees, where it's the cold open. And they just treat it like it's the recap of every terrible, dramatic, mystery, CSI, weird type adult show you've ever seen, and it's hilarious. Like, it hits the bad romance, someone that's gonna shoot someone that's dying in a hospital bed, like all this crazy stuff. That's fun, and that was also weird because that's just out of nowhere. The Prince of Space ones are pretty weird. Mike as a puppet, like as a robot, that was weird. Like, that's a pretty weird one. Them on Earth for a few seconds in the different dimensions, that was odd. Crystal had another question. Let me see, I was up the list. Sorry, Crystal. What riff tracks would you highly suggest to a new person? Any of the shorts, because that's what I started on, was the shorts, and that worked for me, obviously. Full-on movies, the Twilight movies are hilarious.
Your eyes were black the last time I saw you, and
then again, I blink 90 times a minute, so...
Star Wars prequels.
You fell into that nightmare, Master, and I rescued you, remember?
So you're really gonna go with that voice and that performance, huh?
Birdemic Live is amazing.
Folks, you don't need to dance. This is just how we get people to leave when we're closing up.
Just anything of that, all of them, and I think that you will have a fan. If not, then I don't know what to tell you. My apologies if I just screwed up your friendship. Vixie Lou also had a mystery science question. Can't resist the age-old question, Joel or Mike? We'll get to that. Daniel had, have you seen or plan to see the film crew or Cinematic Titanic? I've seen both. I think I've seen all the film crew. There were only 4. Not that good. They needed to find their niche and hit a stride, and it was definitely rough. Cinematic Titanic, man, I tried so hard. I really did. I wanted to be into this, especially because I love riff tracks. I was like, let's double it up, man. it just doesn't work for me. Writing wise, something didn't work on that for me. I really wanted it to. I know it has some huge fans out there. A lot of people really loved it, and there's something about it I couldn't grasp onto. From Ryan R, how would you feel about an MST special to raise cancer awareness? I think Mystery Science, they could do a PSA type thing, I guess. I don't think it's the type of show where you can really do that without it coming off as cheesy in a negative way. I mean, like, if they wanted to do it, I'd be like, okay, cool, I'm behind it, you know? I mean, who wouldn't be behind cancer awareness? But at the same time, it's like, I don't know how you'd fit that in without it feeling completely forced. And I know they wouldn't want to make it sound like they're making fun of it, but it'd be hard to naturally have it in an episode or do a special about it. I mean, it'd be cool if they could, but I don't know if they could, at least not a full episode. And then Ryan also says, on a more positive note, do you think a Mystery Science video game would work? I'd love to see Jonah, Tom, and Crow get sucked into a crappy movie because of a malfunction on the SOL and try to work together to get back. That is brilliantly hilarious, man. That would be amazing. I think a long time ago, they did want to make a computer game, which is why they riffed the short Assignment Venezuela, and why that's not part of an episode, but it got scrapped when it was in development. But when I first read that question, I was like, I don't know how to get a Mystery Science video game to work, but then I read your description. That would be awesome, having our guys get sucked into a movie and have to make their way out. And you could do a 3D platformer, I guess, where you have to go through the levels of different movies or something. I think that idea is really fun. I just think they should make that a video game. Okay, it's time to stop stalling and get to the question that most people asked, or the most people asked. Favorite host? Joel, Mike, or Jonah? Okay. Alright, let's do first things first. Between Joel and Mike, because I think it was Vixie Lou asked Joel or Mike specifically, I would pick Mike. I went through a phase where I was like, I love them both the same. You don't love one more than the other, you know, just trying not to. But I mean, it's Mike. You know, I mean, I love Joel, I do. But I think Mike has more the type of personality that I enjoy watching, a little more outgoing, a little bit more emotional, if that makes sense. Not that he's like overly emotional, but Joel was much more deadpan and reserved, which I think worked really well and was really funny. But overall, I enjoyed Mike's character more and Mike's type of character more. But then we got season 11, and we need to talk about this a little bit. It's like the whole Joel Mike thing, first started watching the show a lot when I was 15. I watched a lot of Joel episodes first. I think he was probably the majority of the episodes we owned were Joel episodes at the time, I think. And so I saw a lot of his, and I saw a few Mike's, and I really liked Mike off the bat, but at the time, I remember I did like Joel more, I think because I saw more of him. And it took a while for me, and I then liked them the same, and eventually liked Mike more, but it took a while. It definitely did. It took me a while to even admit that I liked Mike more. But we kind of got I don't want to say problem, but we got something interesting here. And that is Jonah Heston. Season 11 here, just, Okay. I don't, like, it's crazy, guys. Even inwardly, I haven't answered this question officially. I was just, in my own mind, I was like, you don't even go there. It's been Mike for years. There's loyalty. You gotta be loyal. But, it's hard. And I know this sounds ridiculous, but like I said in that season 11 ending discussion, character is really important to me, and it's important because I relate. It's important because it's like, you know, I could see myself in these characters, I can relate to these characters, I connect with them in a way, and I connected more with Mike than Joel. But now you have Jonah, guys, and it's like, it's not fair. You can't, it's hard because you go from years of loving Mike, and then all of a sudden this Jonah guy waltzes in, and 14 episodes in less than 2 weeks, it just comes in and it's like, I'm your new favorite now. No, you can't. You can't just do that. You can't do that. You know, I've been telling myself just like, no, don't even think that. Mike's still your favorite. Shut up. You know, just, But I think the problem is, like I said, I like Mike more than Joel. He's a little more emotional, more in touch with his emotions, a little more open, a little bit more extroverted of a person. And here's the big thing, okay? The best way to describe Mike's personality on a base level, same way that I said in season 11, the season 11 ending discussion, Mike's a Hufflepuff, as is Jonah, as am I. If you analyze those characters from a Harry Potter perspective, they're Hufflepuffs. They have to be. They couldn't not be. That's just the way it is. They are both very kind, nice, sweet people. Mike has a little bit more of an edge to him, because if the bots poked, he poked back. He would antagonize a little bit. He would kind of fight for himself. Usually the bots instigated, but he would fight back a little bit. He would even fight the Mads back a little bit. Like in the very first episode, in Brain That Wouldn't Die, when the Mads first call, they're like, oh, you have to hit the button. And Mike's like, let him wait, and makes him wait like 15 seconds. And the bots are like so impressed. Jonah never does that. Jonah's just like takes things as they come and is like, this is my life now. It's pretty much just how Jonah is. It's just, there's something about both of them that's very endearing. I think that just they're both very innocent, sweet people, but it just when you compare the two, it's like Jonah is just such a sweetheart. He really is. He is so pure. Like I said, he doesn't even antagonize when he could, when he'd be in the right to kind of mess back with them, like Mike has and does sometimes. It feel like a traitor. I shouldn't. It's like characters evolve and change and come and go, and your preferences can do the same. Like I said, think critically. Don't feel bad. Like I just said earlier, don't feel bad if you don't like KT May in season 1. And for me, I'm not having to tell myself the same thing. It's like, do as I say, not as I do. Because in my head, I'm just like, you've loved Mike for years. You can't let this Jonah guy just come in and take his place in your mind. That's not fair. That's not right. But guys, it's like you took, like, Mike's already a Hufflepuff, and then you bring in Jonah, who's somehow an even sweeter Hufflepuff, and the big thing for me, guys, Jonah knows how film works. Like, I don't know how, like, I need to make it clear, like, as clear as crystal to you guys. Like I said, I appreciate, I said earlier, Nostalgia Critic and Doug Walker, I appreciate that he can go in depth about how filmmaking works and why he likes or dislikes something and can do all that in-depth stuff. That's what I love to do. That's why I appreciate reviewers who can do that same thing and who understand filmmaking. There's so many people I've known my entire life where it's like, why'd you like that movie? It was funny. And that's it. Like, they can't tell me anything else. And that's frustrating because I like to, and that's fine if you just like it because it's funny. That's my problem. I just love when people can dive in deep and get out like this just raw stuff that's in there. It's just there's so much to most films and television shows, and the thing is, Jonah gets that. I believe it's Beast of Hollow Mountain, where Crow says, he goes, Jonah, how come monster movies take so long with the human characters before they get to the monsters? And Jonah's like, oh, it establishes character development and builds tension and suspense and blah blah blah. And he mentions some stuff, and I know in the video I think I said something like, oh, he should be a movie critic or whatever. But in my head, I was just like, holy crap, like, we have a character in Mystery Science Theater that really understands the ins and outs how film works, because most people can't even do that, guys. Kevin Nata, one of my Patreon supporters, he messaged me and said how he's watching a lot of people who did reviews and reactions of the episodes, and I was like the only one that went into technical details, and I was one of the only ones that criticized at the same time, like, could praise and criticize and go really in depth. And that's sad to me that more people, like, it's cool that I'm the one that's doing it. In one way, I'm like, yeah. But the other way, I'm like, no, more people should be able to do that and to think critically and to delve into this stuff. But Jonah can't, and that's incredible to me because so few fictional characters do. And it's like that really, really resonated with me. His love of practical effects in the movies, I think it's been at least 3 times he's mentioned them. To use an internet term, he's a pure cinnamon roll that's too good for this world. Like, he really is. He's such a sweetheart and just so kind and still so funny, and it still works, and it shows that you can have a pure character that doesn't have to be like secretly a drug dealer or something, and they can still be enjoyable and relatable. And just the movie facts, guys, how he knows about movies. Like I said, there's so few fictional characters that do that, and when they can analyze things, they usually aren't particularly nice or particularly emotional, or if you're really emotional and nice, you aren't particularly good at analyzing things, especially film, and most characters don't like film that much in the first place. And just to have someone that does is just, it's crazy. When you add it all up, just the personality, knowing about film, and the performance, and him just being like the most earnest, honest person that you've ever seen, it all hits home so much for me, and it's so relatable. That's why I take that season 11 ending, like I said in that video, that's why I take it so hard. And I know this is just such a ramble, and it probably makes no sense, but it just hits home for me. You can almost never get a character loves film, almost never get a full-on Hufflepuff. You can certainly not a character that's both. Season 11, for all the issues I do have with it, for all the episodes I love, all the episodes I thought were like, you need to fix a lot of things, episodes that frustrated me, the constant through all of them was Jonah Heston as a character, so good and so lovable and just fantastic. And in my head I'm like, you can't betray Mike this way, you can't do that. But Jonah's like the perfect fictional character for me to just adore like this. And I know one of you, even I think it was Kronos 222, I think, said in the comments of one, it was like, when's the wedding? And I'm just like, I wish. Oh man, Jonah Heston is the kind of fictional character that I wish more fictional characters were, who I've been wanting to see in something, anything, like my entire life. And to finally have one, and for it to be in my favorite show, is just fantastic, and I love it, and I love him, and I just, despite trying to fight it, and I shouldn't have, like I said, don't fight yourself on your opinions, be honest about them. And yeah, I have to officially proclaim that Jonah Heston is my favorite Mystery Science Theater 3000 host. I hope that made sense. I hope that all this made sense. I'm sorry this video was so dang long, but I wanted to make sure that I answered all the questions because I said ask as many as you want. I had no clue the door I was opening, and I think it's amazing that so many people commented, and so many people commented so many questions. If I missed one of your questions, if it didn't get answered, if I didn't give you the proper shout out, I apologize. I tried to make sure that everyone got the credit for the question that they asked. Thank you again to all my subscribers, to all my new ones, to all 350 of you, whether you, again, have been here since April last year or just subscribed today. You guys are all amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah, as always, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later.